Hey, welcome back. Nice to see you again. Today we're reading more of The Art of War. This is chapter 4, and it is Tactical Dispositions. Cao Kung explains the Chinese meaning of the words for the title of this chapter. Marching and countermarching on the part of the two armies with a view to discovering each other's condition. Mu says it is through the dispositions of an army that its condition may be discovered. Conceal your dispositions and your condition will remain secret, which leads to victory. Show your dispositions and your condition will become patent, which leads to defeat. Wang Sui remarks that the good general can secure success by modifying his tactics to meet those of the enemy. 1. Sun Tzu said, "The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy." 2. To secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. That is, of course, by a mistake on the enemy's part. 3. Thus, the good fighter is able to secure himself against defeat. Chang Yu says this is done by concealing the disposition of his troops, covering up his tracks, and taking unremitting precautions, but cannot make certain of defeating the enemy. 4. Hence the saying, one may know how to conquer without being able to do it. 5. Security against defeat implies defensive tactics. Ability to defeat the enemy means taking the offensive. I retain the sense found in a similar passage in 1-3, in spite of the fact that the commentators are all against me. The meaning they give, he who cannot conquer takes the defensive, is plausible enough. 6. Standing on the defensive indicates insufficient strength, attacking a superabundance of strength. 7. The general who is skilled in defense hides in the most secret recesses of the earth, literally hides under the 9th earth, which is a metaphor indicating the utmost secrecy and concealment, so that the enemy may not know his whereabouts. He who is skilled in attack flashes forth from the topmost heights of heaven. Another metaphor, implying that he falls on his adversary like a thunderbolt, against which there is no time to prepare. This is the opinion of most of the commentators. Thus, on the one hand, we have the ability to protect ourselves, on the other, a victory that is complete. 8. To see victory only when it is within the ken of the common herd is not the acme of excellence. As Cao Kung remarks, "The thing is to see the plant before it has germinated, to foresee the event before the action has begun." Li Chuan alludes to the story of Han Xin, who, when about to attack the vastly superior army of Cao, which was strongly entrenched in the city of Cheng'an, said to his officers, "Gentlemen, we are going to annihilate the enemy and shall meet again at dinner." The officers hardly took his words seriously and gave a very dubious assent. But Han Xin had already worked out in his mind the details of a clever stratagem, whereby, as he foresaw, he was able to recapture the city and inflict a crushing defeat on his adversary. 9. Neither is it the aim of excellence if you fight and conquer, and the whole empire says, "Well done." True, excellent beings, as Chu Mu says, to plan secretly, to move surreptitiously, to foil the enemy's intentions and balk his schemes, so that at last the day may be won without shedding a drop of blood. Sun Tzu reverses his approbation for things that the world's coarse thumb and finger fail to plumb. 10. To lift an autumn hair is no sign of great strength. Autumn hair is explained as the fur of a hare, which is finest in autumn when it begins to grow afresh. The phrase is a very common one in Chinese writers. To see the sun and moon is no sign of sharp sight. To hear the noise of thunder is no sign of quick ear. Ho Shi gives as real instances of strength, sharp sight, and quick hearing. Wu Hu, who could lift a tripod weighing 250 stone, Li Chu, who at distance of 100 paces could see objects no bigger than a mustard seed, and Shi Kuang, a blind musician who could hear the footsteps of a mosquito. 11. What the ancients called a clever fighter is one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. The last half is literally one who, conquering, excels in easy conquering. Mei Yao Chen says, "He who only sees the obvious wins his battles with difficulty. He who looks below the surface of things wins with ease." 12. Hence his victories bring him neither reputation for wisdom nor credit for courage. Chu Mu explains this very well. Inasmuch as his victories are gained over circumstances that have not come to light, the world as large knows nothing of them. As he wins no reputation for wisdom, inasmuch as the hostile state submits before there has been any bloodshed, he receives no credit for courage. 13. He wins his battles by making no mistakes. Chen Hao says, "He plans no superfluous marches, he devises no futile attacks." The connection of ideas is thus explained by Chang Yu. One who seeks to conquer by sheer strength, clever though he may be at winning pitched battles, is also liable on occasion to be vanquished, whereas he who can look into the future and discern conditions that are not yet manifest will never make a blunder and therefore invariably win. making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. 14. Hence the skillful fighter puts himself into a position which makes defeat impossible, and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. A counsel of perfection, as Tzu truly observes, position need not be confined to the actual ground occupied by the troops. It includes all the wise arrangements and preparations which a wise general will make to increase the safety of his army. 15. Thus it is that in war the victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won, whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. Ho Shi thus expounds the paradox. In warfare, first lays plans which will ensure victory, and then lead your army to battle. If you will not begin with stratagem but rely on brute strength alone, victory will no longer be assured. 16. The consummate leader cultivates the moral law, and strictly adheres to method and discipline. Thus it is in his power to control success. 17. In respect of military method, we have firstly measurement, secondly estimation of quality, thirdly calculation, fourthly balancing of chances, fifthly victory. 18. Measurement owes its existence to earth, estimation of quantity to measurement, calculation to estimation of quantity, balancing of chances to calculation, and victory to balancing of chances. It is not easy to distinguish the four terms very clearly in the Chinese. The first seems to be surveying and measurement of the ground, which enable us to form an estimate of the enemy's strength and make calculations based on the data thus obtained. We are thus led to a general's weighing up, or comparison of the enemy's chances with our own. If the latter turn the scale, then victory ensues. The chief difficulty lies in third term, which in the Chinese some commenters take as a calculation of numbers, thereby making it nearly synonymous with the second term. Perhaps the second term should be thought of as a consideration of the enemy's general position or condition, while the third term is the estimate of his numerical strength. On the other hand, Tzu says, the question of relative strength having been settled, we can bring the varied resources of cunning into play. Ho Shi seconds this interpretation, but weakens it. However, it points to the third term as being a calculation of numbers. 19. A victorious army opposed to a routed one is a pound's weight placed in the scale against a single grain. Literally, a victorious army is like 20 ounces weighted against a shoe, 1/24 of an ounce. A routed army is a shoe weighted against one. The point is simply the enormous advantage which a disciplined force flushed with victory has over one demoralized defeat. Legge, in his note on Mencius, makes the one to be 24 Chinese ounces and corrects Chu Si's statement that it equaled 20 ounces only. But Li Chuan of the Tang dynasty here gives the same figure as Chu Sui. And 20. The onrush of a conquering force is like the bursting of pent-up waters into a chasm 1,000 fathoms deep. Thank you. Thanks for listening to another episode. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that you've been with me through these readings, and I hope that you've been relaxed. I hope that you've had a reprieve, a pause, a break, a stop, and good night.